The government will scrap the proposed diagnostic screening test for 6-year-old children seeking entry into Year 1. In response to this, a PAS MP stated that it shows the government did not do an in-depth study before they announced the policy. Meanwhile, former Army Chief Hafizuddin Jantan has lodged a police report against Bajrul Hisham Shaharin. Stay tuned for all this and more on KiniNews. Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim has agreed to withdraw the proposed diagnostic screening test that was intended to assess whether children as young as 6 are eligible to enter Year 1, starting from the 2027 school session. He said the proposal had been carefully reviewed, including concerns that such testing could have psychological effects on children. Anwar said this in response to a question from War MP Syed Sadiq Syed Abdul Rahman in the Dewan Rakyat today.
Tapi saya setuju dengan kesan Muar. Oleh kerana kita setelah teliti semula, Menteri Pendidikan mencadangkan supaya ditiadakan ujian diagnostik itu. Ya. Tapi saya nak tekankan di sini, ya, cadangan awal itu baik sebab ada satu sistem penilaian sebelum anak itu masuk ke sekolah. Tetapi difikirkan nanti dia jadi diskriminatif. Maknanya ada anak ini kurang-kurangnya nak masuk darjah 1 dan masuk prasekolah, dia tak layak, dia kurang cerdik sebagainya. Jadi mungkin ada kesan psikologi. Jadi oleh itu ditiadakan. Ya, itu jelas. Ya. Itu atas cadangan menteri. Saya setuju supaya ditiadakan, jadi dipermudahkan. Walaupun kita harus pantau tanggungjawab guru dan ibu bapa untuk pantau kelayakan anak-anak itu.
Anwar emphasized that the government's main priority is to provide 6-year-old children with the best possible learning environment. He noted that 137 countries have already adopted similar approaches and said Malaysia cannot afford to lag behind despite calls to postpone the move over various concerns. He added that enrollment into Year 1 at the age of 6 will not be compulsory in the initial phase, but parents are encouraged to enroll their children. Pasir MP Ahmad Fadhli Shaari has criticized the government over its new education plan. This was after Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim said that the government is scrapping its plan for diagnostic tests for children aged 6 to check their eligibility to enroll in Year 1 primary school. In a post on Facebook, Fadhli said that it is good when the government makes a U-turn for the benefit of the rakyat. However, he argued that the U-turn also reflected a lack of thorough study before the policy was announced. Anwar had launched the 2026-2035 education plan last week. The plan saw the introduction of several new initiatives, including giving parents the option to enroll their 6-year-old children in Year 1 if they believe their children are ready. Planned to begin next year, Education Minister Fadhli said the implementation will be carried out in phases and involve diagnostic assessments, prioritizing children who were truly ready. The proposal has since courted many criticisms, including from MPs who raised concerns over having a 2-tier system, among others. From now on, you can also listen to KiniNews on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Scan the QR code on the screen to follow us. Back to Fadhli, earlier the PAS Information Chief had criticized an Amanah Assembly person over allegations that the Islamist Party had received undisclosed funds. In a Facebook post, Fadhli took aim at remarks made by Selangor Executive Councillor for Infrastructure and Agriculture Isham Hashim during a TikTok live stream, describing the video as being rife with slander and falsehoods. Fadhli challenged Isham to substantiate his claims, noting that as a member of the federal government, he should be able to back up his allegations with evidence. In a live stream cited by Fadhli, Isham claimed that during his time as Selangor PAS treasurer before joining Amanah, former Selangor Menteri Besar Abdul Khalid Ibrahim had allegedly told him that donations for the party's election preparations were channeled to PAS's central leadership. Fadhli denied the allegation and called on Isham to produce proof, adding that similar accusations leveled against PAS in the past have never been substantiated. He further urged Isham to ask Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim, who previously alleged that PAS had received 90 million ringgit from UMNO, to instruct an investigation and prove the claim immediately. According to Fadhli, not only did the Prime Minister fail to prove the allegation, but it was later followed by claims that the opposition received gambling funds, accusations which, he said, remain unproven to this day. The Bukit Aman Classified Crimes Investigation Unit has taken over the investigation of 2 police reports made by former Army Chief Hafizuddin Jantan against Port Dickson Bersatu Chief Bajrul Hisham Shaharin. According to Bernama Kuala Lumpur Police Chief Fadhli Marsus said they had received reports about the matter and the contents and the investigation have been taken over by the Bukit Aman Classified Crimes Unit. Yesterday, it was reported that Bajrul had accused Hafizuddin of wearing a luxury watch worth hundreds of thousands of ringgit while facing corruption-linked charges in court. Hafizuddin's lawyer Azur Rohan Anwar had denied the claims, saying that the watch in question was produced by the armed forces instead of by the brand Patek Philippe. He said Hafizuddin was wearing a watch with no brand, marked Chief of Army. According to Malaysia Gazette, Aizul also showed a photograph that Bajrul had allegedly referred to in a viral social media post. He said in the photo it is easy for things to be manipulated and cause people to talk nonsense. He was quoted as saying that he personally saw Hafizuddin's watch on the day of the charge and can confirm that it was not a Patek Philippe. As such, Aizul said the former army chief lodged a report at Dangwayu police station in which he also covered the disclosure of his personal details, including his bank account information, which Bajrul allegedly spread. He added that his client is considering taking civil action following the alleged defamation related to the luxury watch and the disclosure of confidential documents. If you like the stories we produce, consider supporting us by subscribing to Malaysia Kini. Click the link in the description below or scan the QR code on your screen to subscribe. Former Bersatu leader Wan Saiful Wanjan has questioned claims by Party Information Chief Tun Faisal Ismail Aziz that Bersatu President Muhyiddin Yassin remains the legitimate leader of the Perikatan Nasional Coalition, despite announcing his resignation on December 30th last year. In a Facebook post, Wan Saiful asked that if Muhyiddin is indeed still the PN chairperson, why has he not immediately convened a PN Supreme Council meeting to discuss the appointment of his successor? He questioned whether a responsible coalition leader would not move swiftly to resolve such a critical matter. Wan Saiful also questioned whether Muhyiddin and his supporters were quietly lobbying for influence and dismissed the argument that the Bersatu president lacked time to meet PN leaders. According to Wan Saiful, many are aware that Muhyiddin still has time to attend other meetings and has recently become more active in calling for meetings with Bersatu MPs and state assembly persons. He also claimed he was informed that Muhyiddin plans to meet them in February and asked whether this was an attempt to consolidate influence. He added that if the argument is that Muhyiddin remains PN chairperson, then he should first be made to properly carry out his duties, as other leaders have since been forced to send out letters requesting that an extraordinary PN Supreme Council meeting be called. He said if Muhyiddin is no longer capable of doing the work, he should not make it difficult for others who do want to work. Otherwise, he said that is what you call a failed leader. Previously, Tun Faisal had criticized PN Deputy Secretary General Taqiyuddin Hassan's notice calling for a PN Supreme Council meeting on January 29th, claiming it was inconsistent with the coalition's constitution. Tun Faisal argued that Muhyiddin's mandate as PN chairperson remained valid until his resignation was formally approved by the Supreme Council, and further criticized Taqiyuddin for failing to invite Muhyiddin to the meeting. The 7 suspended heritage football players involved in the alleged falsification of identification documents have been allowed to resume playing. In a post on Facebook, the Football Association of Malaysia, FAM, said that the Court of Arbitration for Sports had granted the players submission for a stay of execution. It said the decision means that the 12-month suspension from all football-related activities imposed by FIFA on the 7 Harimau Malaya players is temporarily suspended. It added that the players are allowed to continue their careers and participate in any football-related activities until CAS makes a final decision on the appeal. FIFA had previously initiated an investigation into FAM and the 7 players. On September 26, FIFA affirmed that the players were guilty of violating Article 22 of the FIFA Disciplinary Code related to document falsification. The probes found that FAM had submitted allegedly falsified documents to confirm the eligibility of the players, allowing them to compete in the third-round match of the 2027 Asian Cup qualifiers on June 10, where Malaysia won 4-0 against Vietnam. FAM had submitted its statement of appeal to the CAS on December 8th. This came following the FIFA Appeal Committee's November 3rd rejection of an appeal filed by FAM and the players, which claimed a technical error. Yesterday, Bersatu and Pasir were reported to have reached an agreement to form a Perikatan National Presidential Council, with Muhyiddin Yassin set to lead the body. The agreement was reached during a recent meeting between top leaders of both parties and was seen as a compromise to allow Muhyiddin to continue serving in PN following his resignation as the coalition's chairperson. Following the development, Kinitv conducted a poll to gauge public sentiment on the matter. The results were as follows. A majority of respondents at 47% supported the move, describing it as a practical step towards maintaining the coalition's stability. Meanwhile, 43% expressed skepticism, warning that the council could potentially lead to internal power struggles. 4% felt that while the council may offer some benefits, it could also pose certain risks to the coalition. What are your views on the formation of the Presidential Council? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And that is all from me today. For more stories, you can go to kinitv.com. You can also follow us on Instagram, X, YouTube, and Facebook for the latest news updates. I'm Camelia. Thanks for watching.